Did you know he'll help you understand? Did you know always a right-hand man? Did you know he's gonna make it clear? Did you know? Come on, listen here. Did you know?
Hello and welcome to the Did You Know Show. We're at my favorite place in Philadelphia, the Philadelphia Zoo. And I'm here today with Kristen Farley, who is the primate keeper for over 15 years. And she's going to take us and tell us all about the gorilla troop. Is that right?
That's right, yep.
So who do we have here?
So immediately right here, we have Amani, who is our 5-year-old female. Kira is 22. She's one of the moms. She's the mom of a Jabu who's 4. He'll be 5 in June. Honey is Amani's mom. She will make her way. Oh, she's all the way up there. She'll come over here.
Okay.
She's a little bit older than Kira. She's 27. And then their dad is also hiding. He's taking a nap and then he'll probably come over. He's 37, so he's the oldest gorilla we have here. And he's the dad of both of them. That's a normal social structure for gorillas, is a single male, silverback male. Silverback means sexually mature.
Okay.
And then his females, he can have, 10 females and all of their young.
Are they considered lowland gorillas?
Yeah, these are Western lowland gorillas.
What does that mean, Western lowland gorillas?
So there are 4 species of gorillas. 2 species, 4 subspecies. There's Eastern and Western gorillas. These guys are actually the most plentiful of all of the species in Africa. These guys are found around equatorial Africa,
right.
The Congo, Cameroon. So, yeah.
How are they faring in the wild these days with all the things that's going on?
They're not doing great, but like I said, they are doing better than the other species. Unfortunately, what affects them is logging, mining. Actually, coltan is a mineral that's found in all of our different electronics.
Okay.
And that's found in these guys' habitat. So we can recycle our electronics and we can reuse that coltan, which means that then we don't have to go into Africa and get new stuff. So that's a way that people can actually directly help these guys in the wild.
Now, Kristen, somebody told me that you were taking care of these gorillas for, oh, she's making a signal. They've been telling me you've been taking care of gorillas for over 15 years.
Yeah, 15 years this summer, yeah.
Wow, so you know them. You know their personalities and everything like that.
Yeah.
So you're about to feed them, and then there's a reason why I can't or anybody else can feed the gorillas. Can you tell us why?
Yeah, these guys are some of our closest relatives. So they share 95 to 99% of our DNA, and that means that they can catch any diseases that we have. We're tested routinely for things like tuberculosis, and that way we're safe to feed them. Along those same lines, they also take all the same human medications that we take. So the kids, when they were born, they got all their same vaccines that a human baby would get in the first year, MMR, they get flu shots, tetanus, they're fully COVID vaccinated. Matuba actually has heart disease, mild heart disease, and he takes all of the same human heart medications that we would take, alpha blockers and all, beta blockers and
Somebody told me that they're smart enough that when they're pregnant, that they know how to put their bellies against the glass for the ultrasound?
Ultrasounds, yeah.
So who taught them that?
The keepers, yeah, we did. We have great relationships with these guys. Like I said, I've known them for over 15 years. I have a healthy respect for them, and likewise. So they really trust us, and as long as we're giving them good treats, they can be very patient. So when we ask them to come over for ultrasound, they come over just basically to say hi. I mean, I don't need any treats for that. They thrive off of just interaction with us.
Right.
They come over, show them that we have treats. I'll ask them to put their hands up on the mesh. Then they will present either their chest, we do cardiac ultrasounds on Tubby. We have a human ultrasound cardiologist come help us do that every 6 months. So he'll present his chest, or when the girls were pregnant, they would give us their bellies. And I hold the probe, and then either our vet or the cardiologist, we have this language, and they'll say tail up, tail down, to clockwise, counterclockwise. So I operate the probe, and they're amazing. They'll sit for 45 minutes and do this, but it's all voluntary. So if they want a break, they can have a break. When Honey was in her 2nd trimester, she was actually pretty uncomfortable, and she wasn't super interested in participating in her training sessions, and that was fine. We didn't force the issue.
How long does it take them to have a baby? 9 months?
8.5, yeah.
8.5 months?
Yep, very similar to us.
And so right now they're waiting for you to feed them, so I don't want to get in the way of that. So you mind feeding them?
Not at all.
Not
at all. I'm giving them butter lettuce, which is one of their favorites.
Okay.
Check out my arm, we'll see.
Oh, okay.
This is when the other ones will come over. Tubby! Amani, I'm not going to throw it directly at you.
She's looking. So they're mostly herbivores, right?
Yeah, these guys are vegetarians. They actually get 53 pounds of produce every day.
How many?
53 pounds.
Oh, wow. How many times a day do they eat? Oh, the silverback's coming over.
Yeah,
Matumbo.
there he is. They eat a minimum of 4 times a day, but that's bare minimum. Usually it's upwards of 6, 7, or 8 times a day.
Do you see that their diet changes seasonally? Like in the winter?
Yeah, we actually do seasonal changes.
Okay.
Especially like, we give them something we call forage items or keeper choice.
Right.
So we do have like a fruit, like dried fruit seed mix that we give them in the winter.
Right.
Right now they have a berry and dried fruit mix for the spring. Tubby, I can't get it that far, love. Sometimes we'll give them like Cheerios or sunflower seeds. The name of the game for them is both for enrichment and actual husbandry and management reasons,
Okay.
for like weight management,
Right.
is we try and give them as many feeding, we try and prolong their feeding.
Okay.
So feed them as often as we can, give them like small food items. So sometimes I'll dice their carrots, or like I said, give Cheerios or cereal.
Oh, they like Cheerios and cereal?
They do. And that way they spend time foraging, which is, you know, the fancy word for looking for their food, and that's how they look for their food in the wild. They also get hay, alfalfa, that extends the time that they spend eating, and browse. We have a really cool program, a partnership with Pico.
Okay.
So it's like raining greens.
So where do they get the water from? Where's the water in there?
If you see, there's like a gray square up on the wall right there.
Okay.
Do you see it?
Yeah.
That is what we call a Lixit. So it's very similar. It's actually the same brand. If you have like a hamster or some sort of caged animal, a hamster or guinea pig at home, the water bottle you have is likely the Lixit brand.
Right.
And they have like the silver thing with the ball there, you know. It's
Right.
the exact same thing. This is just, it sticks out of the wall and they depress it and they drink. It's a water fountain for them.
All right, we're sitting here, we're talking to Kristen Farley. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back and continue our conversation about the primates. Don't go away.
Did you know?
Let me help you with that, Mrs. Jackson.
Oh, thank you, dear.
How'd this get here? You got one too?
Yeah.
Ah, new recruits? I'm sure you're wondering why you're here. This is our Elite Caregiver Super Training Center, and you two are the perfect candidates.
This is incredible.
I know, right? Ready to become an Always Best Care caregiver? Working for the best team with competitive pay? Join Team Green.
Always Best Care supports diversity. There's a hero in all of us.
Dad, you can't do this anymore. I think it's time to consider a nursing home.
But I don't want to leave my home, all my stuff.
But Dad,
Alva.
Always Best Care is here to help.
With Always Best Care, we come to you and do anything you need to continue living at home with our care.
You really are a hero.
Let Always Best Care take care of your loved one. Everyone deserves the best care, always.
Did you know?
Welcome back to the Did You Know Show. I'm standing here in the gorilla, is this a gorilla area?
Gorilla yard, yeah.
The gorilla yard with Kristen Farley. And you were telling me an interesting story that when you went on disability, what happened?
Yeah, so I was actually out for a year, but
Right.
10 months after I had gone out, I came back as a chaperone for my son's first grade field trip, and we had a bachelor group at the time. They actually left just before the pandemic. They moved to Canada.
Okay.
And Lewis is hands down the smartest animal I have ever worked with in my entire life. He was out here, and I had scheduled a feeding. So I was here with 75 other people. I was in my street clothes in the back of the crowd. And Lewis actually spotted me. He literally was like looking around and saw me and was like, I know you. And so he got all puffed up, which is how they show displeasure towards another individual. He got
Right.
all puffed up, he displayed at me, he charged me. He went around and collected a whole bunch of carrots and he actually threw them at me.
Wow, threw them at the glass.
Right here,
Oh, wow.
here. So it was like raining carrots on us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so everyone's like, what's happening? And he was upset with me for leaving him. So when I came back a couple months later, all of the other gorillas were really excited to see me. They have like a grumble that they make, a vocalization, and it's like kind of like guttural in their chest and throat. And they gave me that vocalization because they were happy to see me. And Lewis wanted nothing to do with me. He didn't cooperate. He gave me a hard time. It took me about a week to earn his trust back. So
wow,
that shows how smart they are.
They retain, their memories are really good. I watched them, you know, we have a group of people out here that are visiting the zoo today, but they are in tune to Kristen's energy. And me being a farmer, hobby farmer, I understand that when my horses come and the donkeys come and they display different vocalizations and that kind of thing. You have a good rapport with them, but how long does this, do you have to train them when they're, I guess what I'm asking is when they have a baby, do the babies follow the mother and the troop more than they follow your commands, or they just, how does that work?
It's been really interesting. So that's a really cool question, actually. So Honey was actually hand raised. She's 27 years old, and things were done differently 27 years ago.
Okay.
So she was imprinted onto humans. She loves people. She integrates great with the gorillas. She's wonderful, but she really enjoys interaction with her keeper. Sometimes I don't even have to give her a food reward because just interacting with her is reward enough. And Amani has definitely taken her lead. So, you know, Honey loves me. She also loves watching the people. So like when we were closed, when we were closed during the pandemic, she definitely missed watching people. And Amani, like I said, has just really taken her lead. Kira is like not super impressed by people. So she appreciates me because I feed her. She appreciates me because I take care of her, but she really could do with or without me. She doesn't care that much. And Ajabu, again, exactly the same thing. Like I always say like Honey and Amani are people gorillas and Kira and Ajabu are gorilla gorillas. They prefer to just like hang out with their own, you know, troop mates and stuff like that.
How often do they go into estrus or heat?
So these guys have a 28-day menstrual cycle, just like we do.
Okay.
They actually take human birth control.
Oh wow!
When we're not breeding them.
Is there any future to breed them in the future?
So Honey does not have a breeding recommendation, and Kira is still has not started cycling regularly because she's still breastfeeding.
Okay.
Ajabu. So yeah, not at this time.
Wow. Well, thank you. I know you're really super busy. Thank you for sharing your experience. Kudos to you for being 15 years with them. You know, do you work with any other groups of animals?
Yeah, so I'm the primary gorilla keeper and colobus monkey keeper. So they're up in the trail right now, and they're who I take care of 5 days a week. I'm trained in the whole building. I'm also the lead keeper of the building, so I can like fill in people's absence, but these are my main charges.
Now, we're not violating HIPAA. If I heard you talking earlier to the other staff members that one of the colobus is sick or in the hospital or something like that.
Yeah, so you know, gorillas and monkeys, all of the animals here at the zoo get sick just like people, and they're so lucky to have free health care. And our vet staff is amazing. So yeah, Zabibu, one of our colobus monkeys, isn't feeling super great. So she's been up in the hospital for a few days getting really great care. And we work really well, keeper staff with the vet staff to kind of like, you know, they might, if I'm running behind, like right now I had this interview, so I called the vet staff and I said, hey, can you clean up for Zabibu? And then I'll go up and feed her a little bit later. But yeah, they're really lucky to have the vet staff that we have here at the zoo. One of the things that the Philadelphia Zoo has is a 360-degree thing. How often do you rotate the colobus versus the gorillas versus who gets who? What days? How's that? So, as of right now, the colobus, this is their main exhibit.
Okay.
And the reason for that is they can't go out into this yard because it doesn't contain them. They are excellent jumpers, so they can escape this yard.
Okay.
So since the gorillas can go out there and if the colobus can't go out there, this way everyone gets to go outside and everyone's happy.
Okay.
Also because of the pandemic, a large amount of the trail goes over top of the big cat trail.
Okay.
We know that COVID can be spread through feces, and both carnivores and primates can carry COVID, so we don't want primates over cats pooping. So right now we only have this loop and that's the most we've had since COVID. We didn't have any of it for a while. So yeah, the colobus get to go out there and they absolutely love it out there. That's like their happy place.
One last question before I let you go, because I know you're very busy. Why the gorillas? Why the primates? Why? I mean, is that a personal favorite? Like,
yeah, so they challenge me. They make me think. If I make a mistake, they'll like call me out on it. They'll point it out to me.
How? Tell me how that.
They just like, you know, if I haven't opened a door, for example, they just like sit there and they'll literally look at me, like, and then they'll look at the door and sort of be like, I need you to open that. I can't go through a closed door.
Right.
Lewis, the gorilla that I was telling you about who threw the carrots at me,
Right.
he actually has his own Wikipedia page. I don't know who made it. He's famous because he walks bipedally, which means on just his back legs. He would walk upright like a human all the time.
Okay.
But like I said, he was really smart, so he taught me patience. He taught me how to be a better zookeeper. He taught me how to be a better parent. They just, I don't know. I
They
love
all have
their personalities.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Since I've been here, they've all displayed different personalities. This
Yep.
one won't leave. This one right here. Now, who's this?
That's Amani.
That's Amani. She's definitely in tune to your energy,
Yep.
and she's watching
Yep.
to see what happens next. You know, do you spend a lot of time with her when she's a baby?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever hold them when they were babies?
So a Jabu, actually, yes, and that's very rare. We do not intervene with childbirth unless we have to.
Right.
So Kira was in labor for like 2 days. Her contractions stopped. He was stuck in the birth canal. We weren't sure what was going on. So we actually brought a human OBGYN in to deliver him. And we did a forceps delivery, which is only the second time that's ever been done that we know of. So we did, mom was still too groggy to safely put him back in with her that night.
Right.
So vet staff, keeper staff, and some management were able to hold him, and we cared for him over that first night. I was the first one to hold him after the vets took care of him and made sure he was good. It was amazing, but that was a very special experience and not one that we have very often.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So I've been talking to Kristen Farley, who is the zookeeper for the primates, and we've been talking about the gorillas and the koalas, monkeys. We're going to let you go. 'Cause I know the vet is paging you. I'm getting the signal from my producer to go ahead and wrap this up. So stay tuned. We're going to continue our conversation with Rachel Metz, who's in charge of conservation. Don't go away. We're at the Philadelphia Zoo, my favorite place in the Philadelphia city, and I'm a Philadelphia native, West Philadelphia, born and raised. All right.
Did you know?
Dad, you can't do this anymore. I think it's time to consider a nursing home.
But I don't want to leave my home. All my stuff.
But Dad,
Alva.
Always Best Care is here to help.
With Always Best Care, we come to you and do anything you need to continue living at home with our care.
You really are a hero.
Let Always Best Care take care of your loved one. Everyone deserves the best care. Always.
Let me help you with that, Mr. Smith.
Oh, thank you.
How did this get here?
You got one too?
Yeah.
Ah, new recruits? I'm sure you're wondering why you're here. This is our Elite Caregiver Super Training Center, and you two are the perfect candidates.
This is incredible.
I know, right? Ready to become an Always Best Care caregiver? Working for the best team with competitive pay? Join Team Green.
Always Best Care supports diversity. There's a hero in all of us.
Did you know?
Welcome back to the Did You Know Show. The Did You Know Show is centered around connecting people to home, community, and business resources that you ordinarily wouldn't know about. How could you not know about the Philadelphia Zoo? Joining me now on set is Rachel Metz. She's the VP of Animal Well-Being. First, what does that mean? Let's go there.
It's a lot of work, a lot of responsibility, but there's no other place I'd rather be. So as the VP of Animal Wellbeing, I'm in charge of all aspects of animal care, including the vet staff, the nutrition staff, all of the curators, and the animal keepers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we were talking just recently to Kristen Farley, and what is the conservation status of the western lowland gorillas?
Well, unfortunately for them, they are considered critically endangered. So the IUCN, which is the International Union for Conservation of Nature, has designated them as such. And what that ultimately means is they're struggling in the wild. Their numbers are lower, and that's due primarily to, quite frankly, human interactions. So farming and mining, deforestation and logging have all impacted gorillas in the wild.
Wow. And so when you think about conservation for the zoo animals in general, what's your stretch goals and that kind of thing? What are you trying to accomplish?
So we're trying to accomplish big things.
Okay.
And we're really focusing on our conservation programs here at the zoo. We have a number of them, including species that we've literally saved from extinction, which is a really exciting thing to say. So we're really focusing hard on all of our conservation work, including work to help to protect these animals, the gorillas.
So in the conservation program, I try to get Kristen to kind of spill the tea.
Sure.
Are you guys really going? Are you trying to let them breed in the future or mix them up? Kristen mentioned that a group of bachelor troop was moved on to Canada. How long are these animals going to stay together? Is there any type of rhyme or reason? Do you have any strategical goals?
Absolutely. So the strategic goals that we have are bigger than the Philadelphia Zoo itself.
Okay.
So we are accredited by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums.
What does that mean? Don't just say that. What does that mean?
Okay, so being accredited is a big deal. It means that we're doing everything right, from our nutrition to our animal care to our conservation programs to our education programs for the kids. It's all encompassing, and we get inspectors that come here and look at all the work we're doing. And only very few handfuls of zoos and aquariums are actually accredited. So we're really proud to be a part of that.
Is the Philadelphia Zoo the only zoo that has done the 360-degree?
So we were the innovators on that, and we can proudly say that we were the first to do the 360 trails.
Right.
And you can look around the zoo and see them everywhere, and we're actually starting to incorporate them with other animals in the future. Maybe the bears, maybe the tortoises, who knows? We're really looking at broadening that plan, but I think the biggest compliment to us as a zoo, we established the 360, but now it's in almost 50 zoos across the world.
Wow.
Yeah, some rendition of the Zoo 360.
So with that organization that you mentioned before, do you guys work in tandem with them to, I guess, breed animals and then place them and give them in space and all that kind of thing? How does that work? So if you give us the snippets of it, I don't know.
I would love to. So for animals such as the gorilla, the AZA and zoos and aquariums have what is called a species survival plan. So it's an SSP. And it's a pretty complicated plan that involves anthropologists and biologists and geneticists, and they look at the population as a whole. So not just the gorillas we have here, but the gorillas that are in other zoos across the country. And they look at their genetics and match up pairings to make sure that we're maintaining a healthy population.
So if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the Philly Zoo's website. We're going to talk more about that because I'm going to be talking to the development office, but we are always looking, I'm a friend of the zoo, so I feel like I'm on the team. Only thing I don't have a timesheet officially, but I feel like I should. But we're always taking donations. Do you have still volunteers? Do clinicians volunteer? What is some of the things that tangibly people can do to support the zoo?
Sure. We absolutely have a volunteer program. Primarily they're docents who come to the zoo and help engage with our guests. They're taught a lot about the natural history about animals all across the zoo so that they can teach our zoo visitors. So all the kids that are coming around, they'll engage with them and teach them about the animals and conservation.
So when you talk about docents, how does one become a docent? What is their application? Is there a vetting process?
Yep, you can just go to the zoo's website and look for the link for volunteering.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to continue our conversation with Rachel Metz, who is the VP of Animal Wellbeing.
Animal Wellbeing.
All right, don't go away.
Let me help you with that, Mr. Smith.
Oh, thank you.
How did this get here?
You got one too?
Yeah.
New recruits? I'm sure you're wondering why you're here. This is our Elite Caregiver Super Training Center, and you two are the perfect candidates.
This is incredible.
I know, right? Ready to become an Always Best Care caregiver? Working for the best team with competitive pay? Join Team Green.
Always Best Care supports diversity. There's a hero in all of us.
Dad, you can't do this anymore. I think it's time to consider a nursing home.
But I don't want to leave my home. All my stuff.
But Dad.
Alva.
Always Best Care is here to help.
With Always Best Care, we come to you and do anything you need to continue living at home with our care.
You really are a hero.
Let Always Best Care take care of your loved one. Everyone deserves the best care. Always.
Did you know?
Welcome back to the Did You Know Show. I'm standing here with Rachel Metz, who is the Vice President of Animal Wellbeing, and you have a really good history. Tell us about how long have you been with the Philadelphia Zoo?
Well, so I'm new to the Philadelphia Zoo. I've been here for roughly 6 months, but I've been in this field for over 25 years.
Now, where were you at before and previously? What did you do?
Prior to coming to the Philadelphia Zoo, I was working for the Smithsonian at the National Zoo.
What?
Yeah.
All right,
yeah,
so how long were you there? What did you do there?
I was there for roughly 10 years.
Okay.
And I worked as a curator and conservation biology coordinator for them. I've been at the Virginia Aquarium as their VP of Animal Care. Yeah, so really, really passionate about what I do. I got my master's degree in conservation biology, and all of these things kind of culminated to this position and where I am. And I came here for the opportunities that this zoo gives to conservation and animal welfare.
Well, I'm going to ask her a question that's off the script. Are you a pet owner?
You know, I am. I don't actually have a pet right now, but I'm in the market for, a rescue dog. So.
Oh, really? I had to connect with you on social media because I have a farm rescue that we're always helping animals. I know of a 15-month Roddy, 85 pounds, over in Jersey is looking for a home. We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
So then, when you talk about animal well-being, obviously we're focusing on the primates, but let's talk about animal well-being and the health care and all that kind of stuff that you do in your role.
Yeah, so that's a very important part of what we do every day. On an annual basis, we do what are called welfare assessments. And so we take a good hard look at every single animal at the zoo, and we identify any issues they may have, whether or not their exhibits are safe, whether or not their nutrition is what it should be, whether or not they're exhibiting natural behaviors. And so we look at that big picture and make sure that we're providing excellent welfare to every single animal, from the black-necked swans to the gorillas to the cheetahs. We consider it all.
The zoo is open 24/7? Is it open 365 degrees?
Not 24/7, so people shouldn't be coming here in the evenings.
In the evenings.
Yeah, all the animals will be sleeping anyway. But yes, we're open almost every day of the year. Mm-hmm.
And so do you switch out animals according to their natural habitat to when they're in an enclosure? How does that work? Who's responsible for the scheduling of when the animals get yard time versus being on the inside?
So the keepers work really closely with one another. So the big cat keepers over at Big Cat Falls will call to the primates and say, hey, we have a tiger in the trail, and so they know that they shouldn't be putting the gorillas in the trail. So it's a very
competitive.
Well, yeah, so it's kind of like time sharing, but they all enjoy being in the trail, so we want to make sure they all have time in there.
Have you ever had a situation where animals got out? I don't know if you want to talk about that.
No, thankfully, because we have a lot of safety protocols and a lot of communication goes into making sure that the animals are where they need to be.
And so when you think about the animal welfare, Kristen Farley, who was just here, the zookeeper here, said you guys have, well, with primates, their DNA is closely related to humans.
Very much
and so. You have OBGYNs that come in and all that kind of stuff. Do you have part-time on-call docs, like cardiologists? Do you have an endocrinologist? If a gorilla has heart issues, they obviously can get diabetes, right?
Yes.
So you have to make sure that their diets are. How does that work? Are you testing their fingers? Like, are you testing their stool? Like what?
Right. Oh my gosh, we have the most amazing animal veterinary program. So we have a team of veterinarians and technicians that work to make sure that all the animals are healthy. But there are occasions, just like in human medicine, where you need a specialist.
Okay.
So in cases like that, we'll bring in a dentist to do a root canal on a tiger, or we'll bring in a human cardiologist to check out Matuba's heart. Or as Kristen mentioned, we had an obstetrician that came and helped deliver one of our gorilla babies. So there are occasions when we do reach out to our partners at Penn Vet School or Penn Medical Hospital, and they volunteer their time to come help us, which is a great thing. It's a great partnership.
Has the zoo been used as a teaching facility for folks that are looking to get into the medical field?
Yes, so we do have an internship program, and we do have resident veterinarians that come here to learn about what we do in this setting.
Wow, is it just for local hospitals, or is it something that you guys coordinate throughout the country?
So it's throughout the country, and it's an application process.
Okay, so because I know a lot of people that education is a big thing. So how do people find out more information? Just go to the website at the bottom of the screen, or what do you need to be prepared to do? And I know I know because I know of a few people that are pursuing veterinarian aspirations. That it's extremely competitive.
It is very competitive.
And it's not just competitive for veterinarians. I know back in the day, because I am a Philadelphia native.
Right.
I knew that one of the first jobs I tried to get when I could work as a teenager was working at the Philadelphia Zoo. And it was a line wrapped around Girard Avenue of kids that wanted to come in and work for the zoo. I can't imagine if that's changed. So what's the best advice you can give somebody that's trying to be connected with the zoo, whether it's a docent or somebody that's trying to volunteer or somebody that's going to school or somebody that just wants to come in here and work at one of the concession stands?
Right, so that's a great question. You can always go to our zoo website and look for the volunteer program. But if you have aspirations to become a veterinarian or a zookeeper or a curator, best thing to do is study hard, get good grades, and volunteer, volunteer, volunteer. And that will make you a little bit more competitive so that you can actually get your foot in the door.
No, you're not a Philadelphia native. Where are you originally from?
I am not. You know, I'm an Air Force brat. So
really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So I've had the opportunity to live in a number of states, but so far I'm really loving Philadelphia.
I'm going to have to hook you. I know by now you've been here for 6 months. I know you got a cheesesteak and a water ice and
I
a pretzel.
have. You know, you're going to be talking with Neil in a little bit, and he's a foodie, and he's telling me all these places to go. So I'm excited to start trying that out.
Rachel and I agreed offset before I even started. So just so you know, I am a Philadelphia Zoo supporter. It's a favorite place in the city of Philadelphia, always has been. And with my company, we come here and we have our annual employee event every year now for like the last 6 or 7 years. And anyway, one of my biggest requests that you and I agreed on, I knew I was going to like her right from the door, was like, I want butter popcorn, I don't want caramel popcorn. So I don't know who I have to talk to. Some people out there like caramel popcorn. That's a whole nother show.
Popcorn needs to be salty.
So popcorn needs to be salty and a little bit of butter. I'm just saying. So are there any other conservation plans, stretch goals that are going on? We're focusing on the primates, but in general, what can we look forward to in the future for the zoo in terms of conservation?
So we have 3 really great conservation programs that most people don't know about. So we have a lot of work with what we call the red rooks fruit bat. So this bat lives on a small island off the coast of Africa, and there was a time when there were less than 50 of these animals in the wild. Okay, and obviously that's a critical and dire situation. So the decision was made to bring some of those animals into a zoo setting for breeding. And that's what the Philadelphia Zoo did. So we came in, and you can actually see more bats here in our Rare Animal Conservation Center than were in the wild at one point. But now the population is up to about 20,000, and that's due to, right. So we sent educators out there, and we taught the native people why it was important to protect this species. And we did a lot of work with breeding, and now the species is thriving. So that's one really good example.
Okay, and you said it was three
There's 3, yeah. So we also do a lot of work with our golden lion tamarins. So they're in a very similar situation in Brazil. Due to habitat loss, farming, their groupings are segregated from one another. So they are unable to cross into habitats that they once had, so they're kind of isolated. And so the zoo has been working with conservationists down in Brazil to create what's called a land bridge. And this literally is a bridge that connects the 2 habitats of the animals so that they can actually breed and sustain their genetic variability. So it's literally a land bridge planted with trees, and it works because it connects those habitats to one another. And it's not just for golden lion tamarins, right? There's not a sign at the front of the bridge that says golden lion tamarins only.
What are golden lion tamarins?
Oh my gosh, they're most beautiful small species of primate. So
okay,
yeah.
Like if you watch Tarzan and the Ape Man back in the day, he's like a little Nakima. They used to be on their shoulders.
They're little,
little
beautiful little golden color. Yeah.
But people often say, when I visit a primate, facility, they say that these animals should not be pets.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Why?
Well, they take a lot of work for one thing, and most people don't really understand the amount of work that really goes into caring for these animals. So it's a lot of work on nutrition and medical side and behavior. They're very, very smart animals, and
repetition and all that kind of thing. And so what's the third? You mentioned 2.
The third one, yeah. So the third conservation initiative that we're really focused on at this time is New Nature Foundation.
Oh.
So New Nature Foundation works primarily primarily in Uganda, and they help the native people learn to build sustainable cooking stoves. So at this time, they are primarily foraging in the forest, right? So they're taking out firewood from the forest, which depletes the forest and reduces the habitat for many species, including gorillas.
Okay.
But New Nature has come in, and they've worked with them to create new wood-burning efficient stoves that use what are called biobriquettes.
Oh.
So they take waste products from cooking, so like the potato peels and things like that, and they produce a biobriquette so that the people who live there no longer have to take wood from the forest. So it's an amazing program, and it's been very successful.
So you mentioned Uganda, you mentioned Brazil. Have you ever been called to go there for work? Have you gone? Tell us about it. Come on, tell us about it.
So I've done a lot of work like that in my time. Primarily my work has been with sea turtles and marine mammals.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so, but here at the zoo, in the fall I'll be going to Ecuador to talk about work with amphibians and potentially go see the golden lion tamarins there. Our curator Michael Stern goes to Uganda on a regular basis.
Shout out to Michael Stern.
Yeah, so you know, there's a lot of involvement there.
Wow, how long do you take these assignments? Have you ever met somebody like Jane Goodall?
Yes, I actually have. When I was working at the Smithsonian, yeah, she's obviously an icon for conservation. But yeah, it's a great place to be, and being able to actually go into the field and work with the people who live there and work with the animals there's no experience like it. You can't really describe it.
What do you like about your job the best, if you don't mind me asking? I know it's a lot.
Yeah,
but what
there are so many things. The people and the animals and their relationships with one another, I think, is really important. Like you met Kristen, and you know the bond that she has with the animals.
Right.
And for every species here at the zoo, there's a keeper that has that kind of bond with another animal. So I love seeing that, and I really love working on the conservation programs. We're in a position right now that we can really expand on the conservation work that we're doing, and my vision and my dream is to identify an initiative to support for every single area of the zoo. So when visitors come in, they see it, they know what we're doing, and we're telling them, we're shouting, you know, to the rooftops about all of the conservation work we do.
Wow, thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Rachel Metz. She's the Vice President of Animal Wellbeing, and I've enjoyed your time. Thank you. I know your dance card gets really full, so I know, thank you. I really appreciate it.
It was a pleasure.
Pleasure meeting you. All right, don't go away. We're going to continue our conversation. We're talking with Neil Batiancila. He is the Vice President of Development. Don't go away.
Did you know?
Let me help you with that, Mrs. Jackson.
Oh, thank you, dear.
How'd this get here? You got one too?
Yeah.
Ah, new recruits? I'm sure you're wondering why you're here. This is our Elite Caregiver Super Training Center, and you two are the perfect candidates.
This is incredible.
I know, right? Ready to become an Always Best Care caregiver? Working for the best team with competitive pay? Join Team Green.
Always Best Care supports diversity. There's a hero in all of us.
Dad, you can't do this anymore. I think it's time to consider a nursing home.
But I don't want to leave my home. All my stuff.
But Dad.
Albert.
Always Best Care is here to help.
With Always Best Care, we come to you and do anything you need to continue living at home with our care.
You really are a hero.
Let Always Best Care take care of your loved one. Everyone deserves the best care, always.
Did you know?
Welcome back to the Did You Know Show. I am now standing here with Neil Batiancila. He's the Chief Development Officer at the Philadelphia Zoo, my friend. And, you know, he has a really, really intricate job. But I want to kind of ask you to kind of start off, how has it been at the zoo during the pandemic?
Thanks, Brian. It's been it's extraordinary for the last couple of years, to say the least.
I can imagine.
Right? It's a word that's been thrown around quite a bit, but, you know, if you think back to March 2020, you know, we closed down the zoo for the first time in our history for an extended amount of time. We were actually closed that year for about 200 plus days.
Oh, wow.
And so if you imagine, there's just such a loss of connectivity, loss of destination, loss of place for so many people, and just a lost opportunity to connect with animals.
Right.
But when we reopened, we were reminded about how important Philadelphia Zoo is to our community, to children and families, to our broader region. And this, you know, filled the void for people who had nowhere to go.
You know, I love the Philadelphia Zoo. I don't know how many times I've said that during this segment. I am so honored to be here to talk about my favorite place in the city. I am a Philadelphia native, and if you follow the show, you know that. But I'm also a philanthropist, and the Philadelphia Zoo is probably one of my bigger charities. Why is philanthropy so important?
Well, first, we appreciate your support over the years. You know, it helped us get through a really tough time, and frankly, thousands of donors got us through that first year of the pandemic. They continue to help us, you know, keep this place strong and safe. But philanthropy, you know, powers innovation. You know, things like the Zoo 360 trail behind us, that was powered by philanthropy, charitable giving, and now it's impacted the entire zoo industry. You know, there are 60+ zoos that adopted some form of trail around the world. Philanthropy also makes sure that the Philadelphia Zoo stays strong for the next generation. You know, many times over the past couple of years, I've heard from a grandparent who was here with her grandparents years and years ago. And now they give to the zoo to make sure that their grandchildren can be there with their grandchildren's grandchildren. So it's a little bit about legacy too, making sure that this unique place is here for another generation.
You know, the zoo is that diamond in the rough. It is really that it is a place that is a hidden gem. A lot of things that go on. You have so many different activities that go on here. You've moved your zoo gala here. Is it going to go down this year or not?
Yeah, we are planning on having another event here at the zoo in October.
Right on.
And it's a chance for folks, you know, those who support us, to experience the zoo in a unique and authentic way. And that's what this is about. All the children behind us, you know, they're experiencing the beauty of the natural world.
You know, I love the zoo. So why should a donor consider giving to the zoo?
Well, you know, first and foremost, we need funds to protect the animals here. We have 1,700 animals in our care, many of which are rare and endangered, and so supporting the nutritionists, the veterinary care and the medicine team, our zookeepers and the animal care team, making sure that the animals have the enrichment that they need, you know, to live here well. You know, that's what philanthropy does, and it also helps us power the outreach, you know, the community outreach programs that go well beyond our gates, the educational programs, the conservation that Rachel had talked about. You know, this is a place that is so far more impactful than just what happens here. It's important to sustain that type of impact.
You guys have had zoo donors that have helped facilitate. I remember years ago there was a fire, and then you had some donors come in, or donor, I don't know, that donated money so you could have the primate reserve. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, that was a very tragic part of our history, but it's an important part of our story. And we actually marked the 25th celebration of that just this past December. But, you know, in all times of crisis, donors are always there to rally. And the Pico Primate Reserve right behind us is an award-winning, cutting-edge exhibit that helps us make sure that primates, gorillas, you know, right behind me, are receiving the best care possible. And it gives our guests a chance to experience primates in a way that they can't experience outside of the zoo.
So you mentioned, you know, over 1,700 animals. Wow. The campus of the zoo is how big? I think it's like
42 acres.
42
yeah,
acres?
42 acres.
Wow, you guys make magic happen all the time. I can't say enough good things about the zoo, but what are some of the development strategies that you guys are working on, if you can go there?
Well, you know, I think one of the things that, again, we'll point to what's behind us. I mean, the trail system, you know, Zoo 360 was actually powered by philanthropy from Dick and Marilyn Ferris, William Penn Foundation, and so we want to create more opportunities like that for the animals and the guests alike. And so as we look at all the animals across our campus, we're looking at what the best in care standards are, how can we send good messages around conservation, and how can we engage our community around those issues. And that's what the zoo experience is about. That's where philanthropy really helps us innovate and make a difference.
Wow. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back on the other side. We're going to continue our conversation with Neil Batiancila, who is the Chief Development Officer at the Philadelphia Zoo. Don't go away.
What's up, guys? How are you doing? You have fun? Good. What's your favorite animal so far? Giraffe?
Let me help you with that, Mr. Smith.
Oh, thank you.
How did this get here?
You got one too?
Yeah.
Ah, new recruits? I'm sure you're wondering why you're here. This is our Elite Caregiver Super Training Center, and you two are the perfect candidates.
This is incredible.
I know, right? Ready to become an always best care caregiver? Working for the best team with competitive pay? Join Team Green.
Always Best Care supports diversity. There's a hero in all of us.
Dad, you can't do this anymore. I think it's time to consider a nursing home.
But I don't want to leave my home. All my stuff.
But Dad,
Alva.
Always Best Care is here to help.
With Always Best Care, we come to you and do anything you need to continue living at home with our care.
You really are a hero.
Let Always Best Care take care of your loved one. Everyone deserves the best care. Always.
Did you know?
Welcome back to the Did You Know Show. I want to remind our viewers that you can catch me on the radio on Saturdays at 4 p.m. on WURDradio.com or locally at 96.1 FM or 900 AM. 4 p.m. on Saturdays, we get to talk to interesting people, interesting resources around the city of Philadelphia and Pennsylvania and the tri-state area. You know, if you follow my shows, you know that I am an animal lover. I am an owner of a hobby farm, which is now a 501c3. So the Philadelphia Zoo is really a place that I grew up loving. I grew up in West Philadelphia, and oftentimes my mother, who was a single parent at the time, would bring me to the zoo. It was something that we could afford. It was something that we could do that was close, and it was an education beyond measure, and it caused me as a young man to dream. And I think one of my biggest dreams that has come to fruition is owning a farm. I rescue horses, donkeys, and ponies, but we also raise alpaca, sheep, and goat, and we have dogs, and we have cats, and we have critters that come and visit us and all that kind of thing. But the Philadelphia Zoo is a place that you can come to. It's a resource, and I can tell you that I know a lot of people here, they tend to stay here. You know, your employee retention is great because you have great leadership like Neil, and Vic and all the people that we've talked to that come here and just really seek out knowledge of the zoo. You know, from a strategic standpoint, I heard you telling the kids, we have a lot of visitors that are coming off the screen, and you asked them what was their favorite exhibit, and one kid said the giraffes. And you started to say something about the giraffes. What's going on with that exhibit?
Yeah, we're actually giving our guests an opportunity to engage more closely with the giraffes. And we're actually creating a new fence line where the giraffes can come over to you and actually eat, and you can feed them a piece of browse, which is it comes from the trees and the plant life around the zoo. And so it's more of the engagement. You know, I think this is a place where children often come face to face with an animal, a wild animal, for the first time in their lives. And that usually sets forth this kind of dreaming that you spoke about, where kids are inspired to become, you know, zookeepers, conservation biologists, veterinary technicians and nurses. And this is a place where it kind of sparks that interest.
How long have you been with the zoo?
I've been here for about 3.5 years now. It's been a wild ride, I'll say.
I remember when you came. I remember being introduced to you. You know, we meaning Always Best Care Senior Services, we bring our employee event here now for the last 7 years. And you know, if you have an organization or a civic group, I can't tell you, there's a lot of things going on with the zoo. You have the beer garden now. You have, you know, different programs that's going on. You have, sometimes if you're nice, you get invited to the different Lego. They had a Lego exhibit here at one point. They got rid of the balloon, but they have a whole, what do you call that thing out in front?
It's called the Wildworks Plaza. It's kind of a free-flying parallel place structure that allows you to kind of fly around just like our animals would, you know, top trees.
Whose idea was that? That's a great idea, because the kids talk about that.
Yeah. It's just one of the ways we try to simulate, you know, the connection between the natural world and what we're experiencing here in an urban setting. And the best way to be a part of it is to become a member, right? If you become a member, you get, you know, kind of year-round access to our programs, and you get experiences that are unique to the membership program there. But, you know, when you become a donor also, you get a chance to really kind of, you know, see how your dollars make a difference both here on campus and off.
And depending on how much you give, you often are invited to the behind the scenes. I got invited behind the scenes to feed the giraffes. I had an experience of doing that. I fed Cindy and Uma, the hippos. I'm a nerd. When it comes to the zoo, you can't get enough good vibes and intentions out of me. But what do you guys have coming down the road? What's happening? What's on your wish list?
Yeah, well, you know, I think the most important thing you can support here is animal care. You know, like I said before, animal care requires so much complexity to it. You know, the nutrition itself, it's highly curated diets for each and every one of the animals. You don't feed one animal the same thing that you would feed another animal, and we have a team in charge of that. It's complex. You know, we have a veterinary care team housed in the veterinary hospital here on campus. You know, our animals get sick just like humans do, and we have the best medical care for them. So, you know, supporting those teams, the animal care team, the zookeepers who are providing important enrichment to make sure our animals are well cared for, you know, that's critical. And so supporting that model of animal care is really the most important thing. And then we have programs that really expand the impact of care beyond our campus. Conservation, you know, when we have an animal in our care, they are ambassadors for their cousins in the wild. And so connecting our care with those programs across the pond or wherever around the world, that's part of our mission.
And I know, because I'm on that VIP list, I know that you have a tortoise here that just celebrated their 97th birthday.
Yeah.
It's been here almost, I don't know, 7, 8 decades. You guys tend to keep animals for a very long time, but you also, are we going to have bands this summer?
Bears?
Bands.
Oh, yeah, we're going to have a number of things this summer. We're hoping to bring back our Summer Ale Fest. We do have plenty of offerings around the campus that are both animal and non-animal related. As you said, with your company coming here, in so many months, we'll welcome you guys back, and this is a great place for a company corporate picnic. It's a place for weddings, bar mitzvahs, all sorts of events, because this is a contained campus and a beautiful one at that. So it serves as a great backdrop for any type of event that you want to have.
And I'm just going to go off camera right now and just say that I've heard that one person actually had their funeral here. Was that true? Somebody had their celebration of life here. And I think, as I think about places where I want to, have my services, so y'all can party, when it's my time to transition, it would be the Philadelphia Zoo. You guys are definitely in my will. Is it an opportunity for people to put their end-of-life plan in and donate money?
Absolutely. When you give a gift to the zoo, after your time here is done, it goes a long way. Helps us with our endowment. It can help us with the care that's on campus, and we do recognize folks for putting us in their will, because it's very largely the most important gift you can give in your lifetime.
And so we're standing here with Neil. Neil is the Chief Development Officer. He's a consummate professional, a real cool cat. I was teasing him about his tie today. I'm dressed casually because I was talking to the zookeeper, so I had to find a middle ground. But he is a consummate professional, and also, somebody that you can talk to. He's got an amazing center. And, just resident of the actual staff and leadership team that is here. And I said it earlier that you guys have an amazing retention with the employees. What do you think that's attributed to?
Well, there's a number of reasons why people work here, but really it's our mission. Our mission is we stand for something. Again, when we were closed for 200 days, we got a lot of time to think about how do we reopen and what does that mean to people. And again, this is a place where people get inspired about the natural world and think, particularly in an urban setting, which is, really crazy every day. And we come here, and this place is an oasis, and it allows us to escape kind of the rigors of the world, have a sense of peace, have a sense of destination, and think about what our contributions to society are. This is a very kind of quiet, peaceful place. It is a place where we've recognized, folks after they've passed, and when you look in the eyes of an animal, you realize that there's something, existential going on there.
42-acre campus of Philadelphia Zoo, America's oldest zoo, and then, an innovator in the sense of the 360 degrees of the animals walking around and that kind of a deal. Are there any other, can you let us in? 'Cause I know sometimes the zoo is super secretive about some of the things that are going on from a planning perspective. But do you have any other plan? I know you got the meerkats, that's there. I hope that I get invited back, because I want to do the big cats next time, and maybe the hippos. Shout out to my business manager, Donna Bonin, who is in love with hippos. I can't tell you why, but that's her favorite animal. I have favorite animals too, but in terms of the zoo, I think my favorite place in the zoo has been probably the children's petting zoo, because you get the closest to the animals. You guys have kind of moved that and shifted it. You have the llamas and the sheep and the alpacas over on one side, and then in the back you're still doing pony rides, correct?
We're not doing pony rides right now, but we do have side-by-side parallel play with the miniature horses and the goats. And so, similar to our WildWorks Plaza, you can actually go up and actually run alongside a goat that's in the trail at the Hamilton Family Children's Zoo.
One of the things I like about the zoo too, that they still have, I still have my zoo keys. And so you could go up to one of those machines and you put the zoo key in, and you can get maybe 2 or 3 minutes of habitat. Are you going to do any more of that? I know you guys preserved a couple of stations, but things like that, is there a suggestion box, a comment box? I have a few.
Yeah, well, look, we're always taking suggestions, and our guests, our visitors are always providing with good ways to experience our campus, experience the animals. We do have keys here still, and if you still have your zoo key, it will still work on any one of the boxes that we have here on campus. But we're also looking for some new things too, as well. We have Ancoli cattle actually coming to the zoo just in a matter of weeks, and so we've actually graded an area right across from our African Plains exhibit, and they will be here, alongside the Red River hogs and the cranes, and you'll get to experience a new species here at Philadelphia Zoo just by mid-May.
wow, which is right around the corner. I'm definitely coming. You know, I find myself here at the zoo secretly. I come here to eat lunch some days. You guys don't even know I'm on campus because I have a zoo membership. I have the family contributor membership, I think, anyway. But you have the swan boats, you have the different exhibits, you know, you have face painters and all that kind of a deal. And one of the things I like about the zoo, too, because I am paying attention more to my diet as I age. For those that follow the show, you know that I'm a type 2 diabetic. But here, they have this whole vegetarian situation going on, too. Whose idea was that? Do you know?
It was the guests, the customers. You know, they wanted to see different types of offerings, and you know, it makes a lot of sense with what we stand for as far as conservation and sustainability. So we do have vegetarian options. The new food trucks on our urban green allow folks like yourself and me, you know, to pursue different types of diets. And so there's something here for everyone, regardless if you're eating chicken fingers or if you need a salad.
Wow. So as we wind down the show, I hope that I get invited back because we focus on the primates today, but I want to come back and talk about the big cats and the giraffes and the cattle and all that kind of thing. As we wind down, what do you say to the viewing audience in terms of supporting the zoo? If you don't just have to be from Philadelphia, because the tri-state area and people that travel to Philadelphia, because Philadelphia is a visitor historic site, people do generally come to the Philadelphia Zoo year-round. What do you say? What's the call to action that I'm missing? What can we actually say to the viewing audience? If you want to donate, obviously go to the website. But there's several ways that you can donate, and then you do get a 501c3 tax-deductible situation. So tell us. Yeah.
I mean, easiest way to give is to go to our website, as you said, philadelphiazoo.org. But we also would welcome anyone who wants to talk about it. Any sort of donation that can make a transformational, let's say, difference on our campus. But anyone can donate, whether you are a child or family that wants to make a difference to our animals, if you're a school group that wants to get involved in making a difference, or if you're a company or a corporation that wants to engage your employees in a cause that is pretty significant. This is a place that can be a destination for philanthropy, and over the past couple of years, that was really the key to succeeding and to making sure that we're strong today. And it's a key to making sure that this place is here for another generation ahead.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you so much for letting me come on. I really appreciate that.
We appreciate your support, really.
If you didn't get that from this episode, I don't know where you were, but I love the Philadelphia Zoo. I love the staff. I love the animals. I love the plans. You guys are super, super nice. It's no better place, in my opinion, no better place in the city of Philadelphia, that you can go to. You can get a nice meal. You can get your butter popcorn or your caramel corn if people like caramel corn. I don't know who would, but that's your own personal preference. But you can get to see the animals. You got everything from the Meerkat Mountain. You got the bears. You got the birds. You got the colobus monkeys overhead. You got the big cats. Oh man, you got the face painting. You got the swan boats. You got the side-by-side ponies.
The parallel play, miniature horses. That's right.
You can get close to the animals, and you always, at different points of the day, you do have zookeepers that do come out and talk about certain animals at certain times. I think you go to the website and you can find out those schedules as we get closer to the warmer months. But again, thank you again for letting us come. I really appreciate it. And you'll see us on June 18th.
Right.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Again, the Did You Know Show is brought to you by Always Best Care Senior Services. We provide in-home care primarily to seniors, but if you're somebody that has had a hip or knee replacement or back injury, if you're recovering from a stroke or battling COVID, please think about Always Best Care first. We are the agency that never sleeps. Their owner, Bryant Green, loves the zoo. It's my favorite place in the city. I'm over the moon excited that I was able to come here. Check us out at teamgreenabc.com. Or you can go to the philadelphiazoo.org to make a donation or to check out the schedule. Thank you, and I'll check you out next time.
Did you know he'll help you understand? Did you know always a right-hand man? Did you know he's gonna make it clear? Did you know? Come on, listen here. Did you know